What was a red flag that made you stop talking to a person immediately? Before we start with the first story, please hit a subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. My coworker told me he knew his wife was having a seizure at work. Drove to her job, retail grocery. Asked where she was, they told him she hadn't shown up. So he knew she was in her car, but he decided to shop around a little bit before finding her. By the time he got out to her car, someone else had called an ambulance and was helping her. I haven't been able to look at him the same. Story 2. I told a guy I only had time for a coffee date because I had a study group to attend. He kept trying to extend again and again and eventually asked if I would go watch a movie at his place. I said, no, I have to leave now, and he knocked on my car window so I'd roll it down, then refused to let go of the top of the glass. I had to pull away slowly with him still holding on. Study group laughed their asses off when I told them why I was late. He didn't get a second date. Story 3. He tried to force himself on me by attempting to put his hands down my pants and kiss me. I told him no, and he looked at me dead in the eyes and said, "People don't refuse me." The best part is that I drove us. Edit. So when we're at the bowling alley for our date, when he did that, he got mad at me and demanded I take him home, and I said okay. The entire time we drove, he didn't say a thing to me. When I got to his place, he just exited the car and kind of slammed the door. He never texted me after that. I was so confused but relieved. Story 4. Had a date with a girl who told me a couple of stories about her life and ended them saying, "Nah, I'm just kidding." At the end of the date, I felt like I knew less about her than I did going in. Made me feel really uncomfortable. Story 5. Joined a new book club because I love reading and thought it'd be a great way to make some new friends. Everything was going great. We had a lively discussion about the book and I thought I fit right in. Until one of the members starts going off on a tangent about how climate change is a hoax and it's all a conspiracy to control us. As someone who's pretty passionate about environmental issues, it was like a record scratch moment for me. Even tried to rope me into a debate by asking if I've ever personally seen the ice caps melting. Decided to just smile, nod, and look for another book club. Story 6. An old buddy I used to work with stopped into bull when he started explaining that he learned you don't need a driver's license because the Gov is a big corporation and we can renounce our spot and declare ourselves freemen. I just gave up on him. It's been around 5 years now. Story 7. In high school, my longtime crush finally started to reciprocate my feelings and we got to hanging out. That's when he told me he and his buddies like to ride their bikes and swing baseball bats as they chase terrified homeless people down. When he saw my horrified expression, he was like, "We don't actually hit them. They just think we will. At worst, we'll throw brown paper bags full of dog shit at them." Ha ha ha. That relationship lasted about half a day. Story 8. Friend of mine told me she was having an affair with a guy who provides intimidation for a criminal organization. Said she didn't know that about him when the affair began. She implied that it wouldn't be safe for her to dump him. After hanging up the phone, I said to myself, stay away from her. Story 9. The year I graduated college, my best friend also graduated, but he got a coding job immediately and I had to take a delivery driver job. Well, first time hanging out. He says, "You know, it's nice that I get the benefit of free health insurance, but at least you get free sandwiches." This was after he wanted to start making fun of my grandmother for some reason. Such a heel turn for someone who got $50,000. Story 10. I had a friend that I grew up with, played on the same teams. Our parents were friends. We were in each other's weddings. He was in the police academy and came over to the house one night during that time and said, "Yeah, no, I thought I wanted to be a cop so I could serve and protect, really help people, yeah, no. Now I realize it's so I can drive really fast, carry a gun, and beat people up." He also went on a rant about how all homeless people should be rounded up and buried, thrown under the jail and disposed. We never spoke again after that day. Story 11. Had a friend who is bipolar. He received a restraining from a girl. He started talking online to a female friend of mine. She told me she was feeling uncomfortable. I told him to leave her alone and he said no and I couldn't tell him what to do. I pretty much ended the friendship right there. I think he's doing better now, but I refuse to be friends with him again. Story 12. Met someone for a date. We went on a hike and I tripped over a log and fell on my hands. and they non-stop pointed and laughed at me hysterically for 5 minutes straight. Didn't offer to help me up, offer any consolation, just laughed in my face for 5 minutes. Kept bringing it up the rest of the hike how stupid I looked falling and laughing again. Reply: that's actually a red flag that has come up a few times for me as I go hiking on first dates often enough. Your date's reaction to you tripping and falling is so telling. I had one guy just stand there and watch me pick myself out of the brambles just to ask if I was good and move on. Compared to my current partner who made me ride in his back through a river because he didn't want me to get washed away. I don't fall on purpose. I'm just clumsy. I hope you weren't too badly hurt. Story 13. I dated a girl for a short while who quickly started alluding to me being the love of her life. She then all of a sudden said she needed to find herself and said we should break up. I told her I had fun, thanked her for her time, and went on my way. Not even 2 days later, she called me crying, asking, "That's it? You're not even going to try to chase me? Did I mean so little to you? I can't believe what a heartless jerk you are." Nope. Got out of there, but not without a plethora of other calls and messages and unfortunate happenings. Reply: the one phone number I had to block in high school was the girl who wanted a messy breakup and a soap opera reconciliation because she thought that level of drama was normal. 6 hours after breaking up with me, she wanted to get back together. I told her we should chill for a week and see how we feel. It was a soft no, and she called me on it. She ended up carving that she loved me into her calf in shallow box letters. Don't get into scarification or cutting. It's not good. Then at work did some stuff with a razor that didn't even break skin, but threatened violence against anyone who tried to stop her. Last I heard, someone from her church came up to me to tell me she started prostituting herself to other members of the church, and when he called her on it, the head of the church kicked him out. I'm not sure I believe him, but it's the kind of drama she seemed to think was normal. Story 14. A person tried to demand that I respond to a certain event in a certain way. She could not entertain the idea that, since I've had a different life experience, I respond to certain situations differently. Basically, everyone should think just like her. Reply: my last kind of relationship with a girl was like this too. She couldn't seem to comprehend that I need time to process things and would lash out for not immediately responding. Even when I explained that pushing for a response will elicit a very poor one out of me. And then when I finally snapped at her even slightly, I was the bad guy. Reply 2. I struggle sometimes with not getting a response when my partner is upset. I need that reassurance that we're going to talk and work through it, or at the very least, I need them to tell me, "Give me a minute." And even then, I'll be anxious. I try to not push, because I know it's not how to effectively communicate with them when we're upset, but in my house growing up. If someone goes quiet, especially mom, it means you fucked up. You'll come home to no door, or your Xbox missing, or some other punishment that happened in total silence. Silence is, you're going to learn what I'm going to do to you, but I won't tell you. It's terrifying to me when someone goes quiet, even if I know that they're just taking a second to think. Probably the biggest communication hurdle my partner and I have, to be honest. But they're amazing, and I'd never push them to conform with my expectations or whatever. We both work together to communicate best with each other. Story 15. Back when I was April 15th, 2024, and I was walking my grand's new small rescue dog, saw a group of my friends I knew, including a slightly older boy I fancied. I walk up and start chatting to the group, talking about our new furry family member and his tragic history. And this lad I liked thought it would be the height of funny in that moment to lunge at the dog. He was nearly 6 feet already at 17, and the dog was a small poodle. So the size difference from the perspective of that little dog must have been terrifying, especially considering the abuse he'd suffered. The poor dog ran behind me shaking like a leaf, and the lad was doubled over laughing his ass off. I've never hated someone so quickly and so intensely before or since. I gave him a piece of my mind, which as a teen amounted to me shouting about what a total wanker he was and how I hoped he shriveled and died. I never bothered speaking to him again. He phased out of the friend group soon after, and I don't know what happened to him. Fortunately, the dog was fine, and over the course of a couple of years really developed his confidence with my gran, until he was 14 and passed peacefully in his sleep. If by some alignment of the stars you read, and remember this, Dave, fuck you. You're a wanker, and I still hope you shriveled up. Alright, folk, that's a wrap. If you like more of this, please hit a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below. I'll see you in the next video.